Stop scrolling. Don't skip this message because I'm only saying it once. Maybe you've been waiting for a sign, wondering whether you're actually on the right path, or questioning why everything has felt so intense lately. This is your moment to pay attention. You don't need another coincidence. You don't need everyone to understand you. You need to recognize what is happening inside you. Something is changing, and if you're ready, this message may be exactly what you needed to hear. There comes a moment in your life when the place you once called comfortable suddenly starts feeling too small. The same routines that once gave you security begin to feel like chains. The same conversations that once entertained you start feeling empty. The same environment that once felt familiar begins to feel like something you have already outgrown. And you may wonder what is happening to you. You may think you are becoming difficult, distant, or restless. But maybe the truth is much simpler. You are becoming someone your old life can no longer contain. Growth does not always feel exciting. Sometimes growth feels like confusion. Sometimes it feels like loneliness. Sometimes it feels like losing interest in things you once desperately wanted. You start questioning relationships, habits, goals, and even your own identity. You begin realizing that certain things you accepted before are no longer acceptable, and that realization can be uncomfortable because the moment you see differently, you cannot unsee what you have discovered. You have been changing quietly. Maybe nobody noticed the nights you spent thinking about your future. Nobody saw the battles happening inside your mind. Nobody knew how many times you encouraged yourself when there was nobody around to encourage you. They may only see the person you are today, but they don't see everything it took to become this version of yourself. That's why you cannot allow people to define your growth based on what they remember about you. They remember who you were. You are responsible for who you are becoming. There are people who will only feel comfortable with the version of you they could predict. They liked you when you were always available. They liked you when you accepted everything. They liked you when you stayed quiet. They liked you when you doubted yourself, because your insecurity made you easier to control. But now something is different. You are questioning more. You are thinking deeper. You are becoming selective with your energy. You are learning that saying no is not cruelty. You are learning that protecting your peace is not selfishness. You are learning that walking away from something unhealthy is not weakness. And when you begin changing your standards, some people will accuse you of changing. Let them. You were supposed to change. A seed cannot remain a seed forever just because the ground feels familiar. At some point, it has to break open. It has to push through darkness. It has to fight toward the light. From the outside, that process may look chaotic. But underneath the surface, something extraordinary is happening. The same may be happening within you. Your struggle may be preparing you for responsibility you have never carried before. Your solitude may be teaching you how to stand without applause. Your disappointments may be teaching you how to choose wisely. Your failures may be forcing you to develop skills you never thought you needed. So stop asking, why don't I feel like the old me anymore? Be grateful. You are not supposed to feel like the old you. The old you had a purpose. That version of you brought you here. But now you have another assignment. You have another level to reach. And that means you must release the identity that was built around surviving yesterday. You are not behind. You are not broken. You are not lost simply because the path looks unfamiliar. You are becoming. And becoming requires courage. So embrace the uncertainty. Embrace the new standards. Embrace the uncomfortable decisions. Embrace the silence that sometimes comes with transformation. Because one day, you will look back at this exact season and realize that what felt like everything falling apart was actually the beginning of everything falling into place. One of the greatest traps you can fall into is believing that you need somebody else to approve the person you are becoming. You start waiting for someone to tell you that you're ready. You wait for someone to recognize your potential, support your dream, understand your vision, or confirm that you're making the right decision. And while you're waiting for that approval, time keeps moving. Your life keeps moving. Your opportunity keeps moving. The future you keep imagining keeps getting pushed further away because you are looking outside yourself for permission to become who you were already capable of becoming. Listen carefully. You do not need permission to improve your life. You don't need everyone to understand your goals. You don't need everyone to believe in your ability. You don't need applause before you begin. In fact, some of the most important decisions you will ever make may happen while nobody is clapping for you. There will be seasons when people don't understand what you're doing. They may question your choices. They may laugh at your ambitions. They may tell you to be realistic when what they really mean is that they cannot imagine themselves doing what you're attempting to do. Don't make their limitations your limitations. People can only judge your destination from the position where they are standing. They cannot see the entire vision inside your mind. They don't know every lesson you've learned, every dream you've carried, or every reason you refuse to give up. So stop explaining yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you. You don't have to announce every move. You don't have to prove that you're changing. You don't have to convince everybody that your future will be different. Build quietly, work quietly, learn quietly, become stronger quietly. There is power in allowing your actions to speak before your words ever do. When you stop seeking constant validation, something incredible happens. You begin trusting yourself. You begin making decisions based on your values instead of other people's reactions. You stop asking, "Will they like this?" and start asking, "Is this right for me?" That shift changes everything, because confidence isn't always walking into a room believing everyone will admire you. Sometimes confidence is walking into a room knowing that even if nobody does, you will still respect yourself. You have to become comfortable with being misunderstood. You have to become comfortable with being underestimated. You have to become comfortable with moving forward without receiving immediate confirmation that you're on the right path. Remember, a seed doesn't receive applause while it is underground. Nobody sees the roots developing. Nobody celebrates the quiet work happening beneath the surface. But eventually, the growth becomes impossible to ignore. Your life can work the same way. There may be a period where it looks like nothing is happening. But if you're learning, practicing, building discipline, developing your mindset, and refusing to quit, something is happening. You are preparing. And when the results finally appear, people may call it sudden. They may say you got lucky. They may wonder what changed, but you will know. You will remember the nights nobody saw. You will remember the decisions nobody celebrated. You will remember choosing discipline when comfort was easier. So stop waiting for permission. Give yourself permission. Give yourself permission to dream bigger. Give yourself permission to start over. Give yourself permission to become disciplined. Give yourself permission to walk away from distractions. Give yourself permission to believe that your future can be greater than your past. You are the one who has to live your life. You are the one who has to carry your choices. You are the one who will experience the consequences of staying where you are. So choose yourself, not from arrogance, from responsibility. Your future doesn't need everybody's approval. It needs your commitment. Some of the hardest moments of your life probably made you question everything. There were seasons when you looked around and wondered why you had to carry so much, while everyone else seemed to be moving forward. You may have asked yourself why certain people walked away, why opportunities disappeared, why doors closed, or why the things you desperately wanted never seemed to happen when you needed them most. In those moments, pain can make you believe that your story is ending. But sometimes what feels like an ending is simply the part of your story where you are being prepared for something different. You don't have to pretend that the pain didn't hurt. You don't have to force yourself to smile when something genuinely broke your heart. You don't have to call every difficult experience a blessing while you're still trying to understand it. Give yourself permission to acknowledge what happened. You were hurt. You were disappointed. You were exhausted. Maybe you trusted people who didn't deserve your trust. Maybe you gave more than you received. Maybe you stayed too long in situations that were draining you because you hoped they would eventually change. But look at you now. You're still here. That matters. There were moments you thought you couldn't handle, yet somehow you found another breath. Another morning came. Another day passed. You kept moving, even when you didn't feel strong. And that means something. Your survival is evidence. Evidence that you are stronger than the moment that tried to break you. Every difficult experience has the potential to teach you something. Rejection can teach you discernment. Failure can teach you strategy. Betrayal can teach you boundaries. Loneliness can teach you self-reliance. Disappointment can teach you not to place your entire identity in someone else's hands. Pain can become a teacher if you refuse to become its prisoner. Don't waste what you went through, use it. Take the lessons and leave the bitterness. Take the wisdom and release the resentment. Take the strength and stop carrying the weight of what happened everywhere you go. You don't need to keep reopening an old wound just to prove that it existed. Hell. Learn, grow, move forward, because your past deserves acknowledgement, but it does not deserve control over your future. Think about everything you know now that you didn't know before. Think about the boundaries you have developed. Think about the situations you can recognize faster. Think about how much more carefully you choose who receives access to your time, energy, and trust. You learned. And sometimes learning is the hidden victory. The person who enters a difficult season is not always the same person who walks out of it. You may enter feeling uncertain and leave with clarity. You may enter feeling powerless and leave knowing exactly what you will never tolerate again. You may enter believing you need everyone and leave discovering that you can stand on your own. That transformation is valuable. So don't look at your scars as proof that you were weak. Look at them as reminders that you endured. You have already survived chapters you once believed would destroy you. That means you don't need to fear every difficult chapter ahead. You can face uncertainty with the knowledge that you have faced uncertainty before. Maybe you don't know exactly what happens next. That's okay. You don't need the entire map. You only need enough courage to take the next step. Your pain is not the final sentence. Your disappointment is not your identity. Your past is not your prison. There is still more life ahead of you. More lessons to learn, more opportunities to create, and more versions of yourself waiting to emerge. So stand up again, not because nothing happened. Stand up because something happened, and you decided it would not have the final word. You are still becoming, you are still moving. And your story is nowhere near finished. Eventually, motivation has to become movement. There comes a point where you have heard enough powerful words, watched enough videos, imagined enough possibilities, and thought about the life you want enough times. At that point, the question is no longer, do I know what I need to do? The question becomes, am I willing to actually do it? Because knowledge without action changes nothing. Dreams without discipline remain dreams, and potential without movement is simply unused power. You don't need to transform your entire life overnight. You don't need to have every answer before you begin. You don't need perfect confidence, perfect timing, perfect circumstances, or a perfect plan. You need a decision. One honest decision that says, I am no longer going to keep standing in the same place waiting for my life to change. Start where you are. Use what you have. Take the next step. Maybe your next step is small. Maybe it's waking up and finally handling something you've been avoiding. Maybe it's spending one focused hour learning something that can change your future. Maybe it's deleting a distraction that has been stealing your attention. Maybe it's starting the project you've been talking about for months. Maybe it's simply deciding that you will no longer speak to yourself like someone who has already lost. Whatever it is, move, because action creates clarity. You may think you need clarity before you act, but often clarity arrives after you begin. The first step teaches you something. The second step reveals another possibility. The third step builds confidence. Suddenly, the path that seemed impossible begins becoming visible. You cannot think your way into a new life forever. At some point, you have to walk. There will always be reasons to wait. You're too tired, you're not ready, you don't have enough money, you don't have enough experience. Nobody supports you. The timing isn't right. You will start tomorrow. Tomorrow can become a dangerous word when you use it to repeatedly postpone your potential. Tomorrow becomes next week. Next week becomes next month. Next month becomes another year. And one day you look back and realize you spent years waiting for the perfect moment that never came. Don't do that. Your life deserves your participation. You don't need to become fearless. You need to become willing to move while fear is present. Courage isn't the absence of uncertainty. Courage is deciding that uncertainty will not control you. Take the step even if your hands shake. Begin even if you're inexperienced. Try again even if your previous attempt failed. Get back up even if nobody expects you to. And remember, consistency will take you farther than intensity. You don't need one massive burst of motivation. You need small actions repeated long enough to create a new identity. One disciplined morning becomes a disciplined week. One disciplined week becomes a disciplined month. One disciplined month becomes evidence that you can trust yourself. That's powerful, because eventually, you stop seeing yourself as someone who is trying to change. You become someone who changes. You become someone who keeps promises to yourself. You become someone who finishes what you start. You become someone who doesn't collapse every time life becomes uncomfortable. And that is when everything begins to shift. So if you feel like this message arrived at exactly the right time, don't just listen to it and move on. Let it become a decision. Decide what you're going to do differently. Then do it. No announcement required. No permission required. No applause required. Move in silence if you have to. Let your discipline become louder than your excuses. Let your consistency become stronger than your fear. Let your actions prove to yourself that you are serious about the future you keep imagining. Your next chapter isn't waiting for you to become perfect. It's waiting for you to begin. So take the step. Then take another. And when you look back one day, you may realize that the moment you thought was small, the moment you finally decided to move, was the moment everything started changing.